Alrighty everyone, today we're going to try out Wanderlust Travel Stories. This is a game that I have seen a lot about. I've kind of wanted to play it for a long time. I genuinely know nothing about it. From what I understand, it's sort of a text-based story game that's based around people's real travel experiences around the world. I think it's sort of like an interactive travel journal. Well, let's check it out. Let's go in totally blind. Here we go, guys. Start a new story. So our story begins on Easter Island, a small green dot. I've always wanted to go there. Not easy to get to. A small green dot in the middle of the Pacific. 6 hours flight to anywhere. A bar. A chance meeting. Imagine that you arrive on the island. Imagine that you are greeted with a flower necklace. Imagine how impatient you are to see the famous Moai. Imagine that you live on the island. Imagine preparing for the next batch of tourists. Imagine how busy you are. With people engaged in their routines, it was no wonder that only the ancient stone heads paid any attention to the weather. The rain came out of nowhere, a curtain of water obscuring the view from the terrace. I watch the tourists. I do enjoy people watching. It's gotta be said, I do. Surprised tourists, swearing and laughing, scattered around looking for a place to hide. They forgot about the giant stone heads that made the island famous and focused on protecting their cameras, phones, and wallets from getting drenched. After the stifling heat of the day, the sudden shower was a blessing, yet they ran. Soon, the bar was full. Soon, the last group of tourists found shelter under an awning on the terrace. The bar was a popular place. The view was beautiful and the beer was cold, local, and expensive. Just the way I like it, except the expensive part. As always, the tourists all looked the same. If you listened to their accents, you could try and guess where they came from. Especially when they were as loud and made as much disturbance as the wet group under the awning. Do we listen or do we watch? I don't know. You know, I'm kind of a nosy guy by nature. I love a bit of gossip. Let's listen in. In situations like that, you do not wish to eavesdrop. Maybe you do. I might. But you hear. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation where you're traveling in a foreign land and you suddenly hear someone speaking your native language. You almost can't help but sort of tune into it and hear it. Looks like we'll spend some time here, said someone in English. We might as well make ourselves comfortable. I heard chairs and tables being rearranged. I must confess that I was observing them on purpose. Who was I? It's not important who I was. That would become clear at the right moment. What interested me was their story. They were all Europeans, still excited that they were on an island over 2,000 miles away from the nearest continent. At first, I thought it was a group of friends, but no, their awkward body language revealed that they'd met for the first time. So, who are you all? Asked someone. I was also curious. That was the question, wasn't it? I don't know how about you, but I love listening to people, imagining who they are, trying to get under their skin, judging them, making my own entertainment. Who is he in love with? What drama is she going through? Where have those two strangers met before, and why are they pretending they haven't? The movies I'm directing in my head are pretty entertaining, but sometimes I learn that the truth can be stranger than fiction. I always pick one person. Making them the protagonist of my imagined stories. When I try to focus on too many people at once, there's no real connection. It all remains superficial, like I could only see the inside of my head. It was easy this time. One of them got my attention instantly. Was it the eyes? He had a startled expression. Earlier that evening, the guy walked in and hesitated before he sat alone at the table. He nursed a beer, lost in his thoughts. From time to time, he looked around anxiously. He seemed startled when the others invaded his privacy. I knew the type. Always inside his head. He was one of the people who traveled to break out of their heads, but the moment the excitement wore out, They were back to brooding and mulling over past mistakes. Alright, so our main character is the man. I do know people like this, and I have to admit, I've been this myself before. I'm very much a solo traveler, sort of by nature. I mean, I do enjoy traveling with friends or family or my wife from time to time. But just because of the nature of my job and the nature of my life, I end up traveling solo to a lot of places. And I'm not the social type. I'm not like a hostel goer. I'm certainly not a partier. I'm the type of guy to grab a beer, watch the sunset from some little bar on the beach in Cambodia or something. I identify with the man. I don't know his story. Maybe I don't identify him. Let's learn more about him first. Then the others came. Later that evening. For a bunch of strangers, they got along well. The rain stopped, giving way to a beautiful sunset, and they didn't even notice. Drops of water shining on the palm leaves, small lizards catching the last rays of the sun, the dormant volcano in the distance, all that was lost on them. They talked over their beers, joking, laughing, getting to know one another. I listened. By the way, I'm Tomek. I think it's Tomek. I'm Tomek. The quiet guy gave the others a half smile. I was sure I'd spend the evening alone, but that's okay. I enjoy meeting new people. I wouldn't have thought that, laughed one of the women. I was curious what kind of movies their lives were, and what would happen between them. Would they remain strangers? Would they become friends? Would drama ensue? Introductions followed. The older lady from Portugal was called Adelia. The father and daughter came from the UK. He was called Henry, and her name was Henriette. The younger woman, Martine, was from Germany, and Tomek was from Poland. I am not doing accents. I listened to him. I listened to them, more and more curious if I'd chosen the right person. When I was a kid, I saw this movie called Rapa Nui. I was curious about the island ever since, Tomek said. It's different than I thought, though. More modern, safer. Not much of a traveler, was he? He was a funny one. I was not sure if I liked him. Man, these are all judgmental, aren't they? I guess I should have chosen that I was judging him. What are we gonna say? He was a funny one. Somehow that seems the least offensive. I don't know. He was a funny one. This guy was making his life choices based on an old film he saw. The chances that he would be an entertaining hero just got bigger. Man, we are judgmental, aren't we? Time would tell what kind of a person he really was. They talked about how small Rapa Nui seemed from the plane and how big it was when you walked, compared notes on the accommodation. All stayed in Hangaroa as it was the only town on the island, and planned their sightseeing. But who are you all? Tomek asked, a few beers later. What are your stories? Ooh, I love a good story, but I'm not sure if we've got enough time for everyone to tell one of the others answered. One night won't be enough. Well, are any of you leaving tomorrow? I know I'm not, Tomek said. Let's spend the next few days together, see the island. I'm sure we can find a guide here, and tell each other our stories. They agreed. Let's pick a theme, Tomek said, and made a dramatic pause. I was all ears. And smiled when he asked, what was the journey that changed you most? I hoped their stories would be entertaining. This is very much like the Canterbury Tales, isn't it? A group of strangers all telling each other a story. Fascinating. Well, we're all in now, so let's see where this takes us. Wanderlust Travel Stories, Chapter 1. Okay, so we get to choose, don't we? Okay, we get to choose who we're going to be listening to first. We are the weirdo at the bar, eavesdropping on everyone. Oh, Thailand. Now, I might be interested in Thailand, as I live there. Well, that will be next time, guys. We're going to read Martine's story next time and learn about her essential gap year in Thailand. So do subscribe and come back next time, guys, where we will continue this. Let me know if you're enjoying this series. So till then, guys, keep adventuring, and I will talk to you again in the next video.